The last few days of game hunting have been really good, starting off with my local Goodwill store. Now, honestly, I haven't been here for a while because they stopped putting out games out in the front. And lo and behold, I realized that in the very back corner, they actually have a bunch of video games and DVDs. As you can see, these were a bunch of different sports games that had obviously been picked through, but nonetheless, I still wanted to kind of see if I could find anything good here. And this definitely sparked hope for this Goodwill again because honestly, the last few times I've been here, I really haven't found any video games at all, which is kind of a bummer. But there was three different sections here that had games of some sort. Now, honestly, I didn't end up picking up anything here just because most of this would pick through and wasn't really worth it. But however, I was really stoked to find games at this Goodwill, and it kind of sparked the whole week for me. I ended up going here on a whim, thinking, I'm not going to find anything. I didn't find anything, but I did realize there's new optimism and gave me hope to continue on game hunting, which turned out to be pretty awesome. I ended up leaving that Goodwill and going into this pawn shop here, and I've been here recently, so there wasn't anything crazy out the gate. I did still see that there were a ton of these 3DS games that were way overpriced, as well as that hard drive for the Xbox, which was pretty interesting. Then I noticed that there was a new ROG Ally from Asus up there on the wall, but other than that, nothing here had changed, so I got out of the pawn shop pretty quickly and headed into this restore rack where I found the first games that were definitely well worth picking up. This game caught my eye and I looked it up and it was probably worth what they were selling it for, but I'm not really a big fan of loose games, so I ended up leaving this one behind here. And then I noticed there was a game here that I thought was a game, but it was just a DVD. Then I found Transformers Revenge of the Fallen for $4. This was definitely an awesome pickup. And then I continued to the other side where normally the games are. And as you can tell, there are a ton of sports games here, which it is what it is. But then I kept looking down below and I found more stuff. But honestly, nothing that was jumping out to me. Here and there was a Rock Band. And then I found another copy of Transformers, which was totally awesome. Two copies at the same place kind of blew me away. I was not expecting about this. And then I wandered to the electronics section where I found this NASCAR game, as well as I ended up finding this bin of electronics here that ended up having this Xbox controller that was beat up, but they wanted $10 for it, which was kind of crazy to me and definitely not worth it. However, these two Transformers games definitely were worth picking up. These were $4 a piece, and when I looked these up, these were worth about $14 a piece, which means I turned $8 into $28. I'm going to keep one of these, probably the one in worse condition, just cuz, and then I'll probably try to trade this one off, but I don't really find very many games at this restore rack, and honestly, I was shocked to find the same game that was worth about 15 bucks for $4, and that made me more hopeful. And I ended up going into this Family Antiques store here. This is called Family Treasures Antiques. I wandered in, and right off the bat here, they still had that Pac-Man lunchbox. They wanted 45 bucks, which just seemed absolutely crazy to me. However, they did also have this Return of the Jedi lunchbox that looked pretty awesome. But, I wasn't going to pick that up, so I left it behind and continued on, where I found a bunch of games here down below in this little case here, but these have been pretty picked through, as well as a few other games up here as well, mostly like games people have already picked through pretty hard. Then I noticed there was a few Pikachu little plushes down here, and then a few Mario things here and there. This booth was packed with stuff. I even saw this Minecraft creature that looked pretty wild, as well as a random Super Nintendo game, which was probably the only Super Nintendo game I was going to find today. Let's be real here. but it wasn't anything worth it, so I continued on. This booth had a ton of NHL 24 still sealed, which just made me laugh pretty hard. Like, why are there 22? Sorry, I said 24. I don't know why there was 4 sealed copies of this. Then this next booth had a bunch of games that I've already picked through. If you remember a few weeks ago, I came in and they had the Secret Service game, not Postal Service, Secret Service game here, and I picked it up. But these were all the games that were still there from last time. And then this booth had a ton of awesome stuff. There was a little bit of Pikachus here that were knockoffs that I thought were definitely interesting. I was checking that out for a little bit. And then there was just so many figures to point out here. There was a few, I say a few, there was a bunch of Mario Kart stuff. Even this little Goomba that had fallen over, unfortunately. I had to fix him there. Then we got Mario missing Cappy, another Mario Kart game reference there. Tanuki, actually that's just the Cat Mario. There's Donkey Kong. There was so much stuff here. It was just ridiculous. I really couldn't figure out everything. There was just so much here. Again, another Mario missing Cappy, and then a little Sonic at the back. But then I got out of there because it was just overwhelming. And I ended up seeing this Pikachu. It was a huge blush, but they wanted 25 bucks, which was just way too much for me to spend. I had to put that back almost as soon as I pulled it down just because they wanted way too much. There were a few games here and there, but honestly, nothing that was just jumping out at me or that I had to have. So I continued on here where I found this big PlayStation 5 controller pillow. And it actually shocked me that this was a PlayStation actual, like from Sony and PlayStation, which was pretty funny. But I don't really have anywhere to put that, so I left it behind. Then I ended up finding this Nintendo 64 memory card, which was pretty interesting. It was a knockoff, but it was interesting to see out in the wild here. Some more games up here, but again, nothing that's kind of jumping out to me. Then down below, I saw this big Mario plush. He had definitely seen better days. And then a few of those Nerf Fortnite guns, which were pretty cool. I have no use for those, so I left them there. Then, right before I was going to leave, I saw this little Minecraft tin, which was pretty cool. I feel like that would look great on the game shelf. Unfortunately, I don't know too much about Minecraft, so I left it behind. Then I ended up finding this stash of games here. I wandered through this a little bit, and there were a few decent games here, but the prices were a little too expensive for me to pick up. They were like $10 games for $12 or $9, and they weren't really games that I had to have either, so I kind of looked through it a little bit, but then moved on pretty quickly to where I ended up seeing this Guitar Hero drum set for the Xbox 360. And I sat and looked this up and looked this over. It was missing some things, so I ended up ultimately leaving it behind, but I did really wish it was complete so I could have grabbed it for myself. It would have been totally awesome. Then this booth had that Pokemon VHS, which was cool to see, and then a few other games here and there, as well as a bunch of kind of brand new items here. You had that Sonic that I just unfortunately knocked off, that Pokemon thing, this little Pokemon light, which was pretty cool. Then I saw this Bowser castle. I don't really know what to call it, but it was interesting. This next booth had a bunch of games here, but I really feel like someone was either price charting these or these games had just been picked through because there was a ton, but nothing really worth picking up. And then I turned around and looked in the glass case and there were some NES games, but they weren't worth it. These have been here for a while. If you remember, I bought a Wii from this booth, but nothing else here. There was Skyrim. If you're a fan of that, I guess you could have gotten that. But then again, I saw these blue cases and thought they were worth it, but they were just Blu-rays. I ended up seeing this Pac-Man stuff from afar away, and I was hoping it was vintage, but this was like brand new stuff, so I left it behind. Then I saw this cool, interesting looking Pikachu lamp. It was kind of strange, but interesting to see, as well as a Minecraft Pig plushie up here. This was really cool, but they wanted way too much money for it, so I just couldn't grab it. It was also a piggy bank. I think this would have looked awesome on my shelf, but it is what it is. The last thing I picked up was definitely something well worth it. Now, I didn't pick this up for myself. I picked this up for one of my friends, and that was this Mario Penguin plush. I think this was $6, which is definitely awesome. Just look at this thing. I've already got one of these for myself, so I had no need for it. So I texted him and said, hey, do you want this for $6? And he said, yes. So I grabbed it and got out of there. Overall, not a bad place. I've been here recently, so I've picked it over, and other people do too. So picking this up for $6 is definitely cool, but we've got one more place we've got to go for the week. And that ended up being this used bookstore. I've been to this place before, but they recently moved, and this is way bigger inside than it was before. It's really cool to see places like this. I saw this WarioWare game, and spoilers, I ended up grabbing it, but this case had more video games here, and this is a local used bookstore, so I love to support this place anytime I can head in here. I definitely check it out and try to grab something. Again, there was more glass cases, just a ton of little games here and there, kind of mixed in with DVDs and other games. Honestly, there was this Battlegrounds. I think it was the wrestling game. I didn't know too much about it. I think it's WWE, but I could be wrong. Then I ended up seeing Phantom Hourglass for the Nintendo DS for $21.95 plus some Skylanders. So I ended up grabbing that Phantom Hourglass, and then I headed back towards where they actually keep the majority of the games here. I always gotta check through all of these retro games, whether it's the PlayStation 2, the PS3, and so on and so forth. There was some really interesting stuff here while I was kind of digging through here. The Last of Us, absolutely amazing game. If you've never played it, what rock have you been living under? Again, same with Red Dead Redemption here. And then there's just some PS4 games that I kind of looked through, and some Xbox 360 games as well. And then I found a few interesting games here that just kind of stuck out. This Cookie Monster game for the Wii was complete, but I have no need for that, so I put it behind. It was pretty cool to see. The Skull and Bones game was supposed to be a huge game, and I think it kind of flopped, but it does look interesting. Should I pick that up, maybe? And then I found this Hot Wheels Unleashed game. I probably should have picked this up. It was a good deal, and it was something I don't have, and probably would be pretty fun. Then I ended up finding a Star Wars Sims 4 game, which just kind of surprised me. I didn't know they made that, but I continued on and looked through the rest of the PS4 games here. This Marvel vs. Capcom caught my eye, but I think I already have this one, so I left it behind, and then I checked out some Xbox One games here. As you can see, there wasn't anything really here that I had to have, but then I made my way to the Nintendo DS games right here after I found Rock Band 4. I think this has been here for a while, and that's not a bad price, but I'm going to put it back for now. And then I saw it. Mario and Sonic at the Olympic Winter Games. I don't have this one, and I love this series, so I'm glad to add this to my collection for $10. That's definitely a no-brainer for me. And then I was kind of checking out the rest of the store, this little Minecraft Lego, as well as this Mario Lego, which had Bowser on it, was pretty cool. And then I ended up seeing this Knuckles little figurine, which I thought was pretty cool as well. But honestly, this isn't too bad for a used bookstore. I did end up getting Zelda Phantom Hourglass for $22. I think this game is worth a little bit more than that, so I went ahead and grabbed that. And then I don't have WarioWare Get It Together, and when I saw this for $20, I was like, I'm gonna pick that up. There's no question about it. And then the same was to be said about Mario and Sonic at the Winter Games. This is a game I've been looking for on the DS, and locally I found this a few times, but it's always like 20 or $25, and that's just crazy considering this is about a $12 to $15 game. So picking this up was definitely well worth it. But you might have seen me talk about how the game hunting in January is hard to do. Well, it just turned February, and I bought some games this week, which is totally awesome. I definitely kind of started off the week a little light trying to find stuff. It just wasn't happening. Maybe because that was in January. It is what it is. But then I continued on. I did not lose hope, which is the biggest thing out of this, and I ended up finding some really good stuff. If I didn't have this plushie, I definitely would have kept it for myself. And then these other games are just games I don't have, and then obviously this one I'm going to throw in for some trade or do something with it in the future. But I'm definitely glad that I went out game hunting this week because I ended up finding some good stuff. But I'm going to get out of here because I've got some more stuff to do and some more game hunting to do. So go ahead and check that video out if you haven't already. But what do you think? Was this a good week of game hunting, picking up 5 really good games for good prices and this plush? Or do you think maybe I should have gone out and gone harder? But honestly, I think I'm pretty happy with this. But I'm going to get out of here, so go ahead and check out that video out if you haven't already.